Hello, American Africans, my family. It is an honor to speak with you all today about us. So, if you're already on this channel, you probably already know who we are, what we stand for, what we believe in. And you also obviously already seen our website, which goes into more in depth. But today I want to briefly touch on the nitty-gritty aspect of who we are and so that we're all on the same page. As you all know, American African DOS, which stands for Descendants of Slaves, that's a lineage, okay? That's our ethnicity. We have our own culture, we have our own heritage. But we're still Black people. We're still Black Americans. But it's not the most ideal to identify us as African American because of the changing demographics within our home country. So basically, we have more Africans who are actually from the continent. These are US citizens, right? They were born in this country. So we have more of them now than ever before. So that nomenclature doesn't really apply to us any longer, and it's become obsolete for the most part. Because they too are citizens, right? And they are also Black and they are also American. So there's not a real differentiation between us if you go by that nomenclature. So we want to make this distinction known without saying, okay, they're not a part of us. No, they are a part of us. We're all a part of the African diaspora. But, there is a difference between our lineage going back hundreds of years. There's no animosity here. This is just, again, a distinct lived experience that is different from our group as opposed to others who have family from another country, right? This is the cost of chattel slavery on our lineage, on our generations of people, our distinct group. Again, so our lineage is American. Culturally, we are American. Ethnically, though, you must have that second term, American African. That's our ethnicity. So that's our race is, as you know, sub-Saharan African. We are from West Africa. Those are where our genetics originate. With regard to the word Black, we're still Black, right? We're still Black Americans. But as you know, Black is an American nomenclature. It's a term that was originated in this country. It doesn't mean anything about genetics unless you're relating it to the sub-Saharan, specifically West Africans who were 99% taken from West Africa to the Americas. Okay, so that's where we get the word Black in regard to who qualifies as such. But when you come to this country, Black American comes in different forms, unfortunately. So like when we say we're Black Americans, which it was supposed to be just for us, there's other people who were born here and who also qualify as such due to immigration. So, you know what? Specifically, when I think of Caribbeans, they're also descendants of slaves, right? And they were born, many of them were born here in the United States of America. So, and because the Caribbean is part of North America, right? They too are DOS and they were born in the United States. So they're really Black Americans. But again, there's this blurriness, this muddiness of the terms. That's why it behooves us to be more specific about exactly who we are and where we're from, and hence American African vice African American. Although we physically look like our brothers and sisters on the continent, we do have a very, very different lived experience that spans hundreds of years, right? So we have a different culture, a different lineage, different heritage, and a different history, different than our continental African brothers and sisters. And it's important to remember that this distinction is not meant to differentiate or say who's had it worse under the system of white dominance, white power, and white control. It's not meant to do that. It's meant to say, okay, I've lived this experience for generations, you've lived that experience for generations, and it's had an effect on my family in X, Y, and Z way, and your family has had a different generational outcome. With this term, we're not separating ourselves, at least with, like I said, and I like to say this again and again, with regard to tribes and specificity. With the American African DOS, we're specifically not separating ourselves from the African diaspora, we are simply differentiating ourselves amongst the Black populace of the African diaspora. To kind of give this more of context, I would like to use the Native Americans as a good example to describe kind of like that terminology with regard to tribe and shared genetics. So when you use the term Native Americans, as you know, they formed different tribes for different reasons, right? And they all speak different languages. They come from different geographical areas all across North America. But my point in using them as an example is that you grasp the similarities amongst the two and not the differences. So when I speak of Native Americans, Native American is an umbrella term. It's a term for a collective race or a group of specific people with a shared genetic similarity and a geographical origin. So their tribes are different, though, right? They have different culture, different spiritual beliefs, different languages. And all these differences translates into different names and terms to describe them. So with Native Americans, you have the subgroups. American Indian, as you know, those are from the 48 states here. And then you have the natives who they call themselves Alaskan natives, who are from Alaska, right? And Hawaiian natives who are from Hawaii. So just to be clear, the American Indian, that term is just for the 48 contiguous states. Okay, and then you have the two other states, Alaskan and then Hawaiian, and they have their own native tongue and their native term, which is Hawaiian and Alaskan. Okay, so you get the drift. But going back to the American Indians from the 48 states, you do have subgroups even of that. And, you have the Apache, who they have their own criteria that distinguishes them from other tribes. And the Sioux and the Cree and the Chickasaw and the Seminole, and we can go on and on. But you get the point. They all have different terms and names to describe themselves. But they all have a very similar genetic origin, right? Genetic codes and geographical location. So I hope that kind of gives you an example of the similarities when I'm referring to the two groups. When I say American African, it's a distinction, okay? It's just a name to describe us, a distinct group of people who are descendants of American chattel slavery here on this land within these 48 states. And also, just to go back real quick, you have even subgroups under the Native Hawaiians and the Native Alaskans. So with Native Hawaiians, you have the Tahitians, you have the Hawaiians, right? You have the Polynesians. I mean, there's a few others. And under Alaskans, you have the Inuits, right? The Eskimos and the Ayaks and the Alaskans and the Haida. So there are other subgroups even within the Hawaiian and the Alaskan. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear too, because I didn't mention that, but I wanted to make sure that's clear. So the point is, and I want to keep this video short, but my point in going over all of this is that I wanted you all to understand, what the full background with regard to our American African DOS, what our lineage is, what our culture is, our ethnicity, our heritage, and how this is different and how it relates to the real race, right? The genetic makeup of a people, of a group, vice the illusory race, which is what's seen or what's presented in the public, which for us is Black, right? And then the real race is Sub-Saharan African, specifically West African. Anyway, so I hope all of that is clear. If not, feel free to post a comment below or just send me an email at info@AmericanAfricanDOS.com. So if you have any suggestions to how explain this better, maybe I missed something. I'm sure I probably did. I would love to hear your thoughts on how I could explain it better. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow us on our other social media platforms, such as Twitter and Instagram. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time, and I hope today's message uplifts, inspires, and elevates you. Goodbye, family.